Hey, this is Raven coming to you from my YouTube channel, Lessons Learned. I'm out here in my building slash studio, so you might see some strange things hanging in the background there, like some deer hides and such. I do Native American crafts. I teach survival skills, that kind of thing. But it's a beautiful day, and I'm out here at my bench, working on a few things. And I had some thoughts about parenting today, and thought I would share them with you. I'm gonna be if you see my eyes glancing all over to my notes here. I got a few notes I wrote down just to make sure I don't miss anything. But this is a really big important subject, right? Parenting, and I'm gonna try to limit this down, even if I have to do it in two parts or more than one part. I want to, get this to you, but I don't want to be too long-winded on it. But it is a subject that can go on, and like any of the subjects that I discuss, there's a possibility of it coming up again. So anyway, I just want to talk about the joy of parenting. Yeah, sweet little babies, right? Till they start growing up and having a mind of their own, and the challenges they really begin then, right? So you got all these experts, though, they're writing books on how to raise a child as if there is one book, like one size fits all. We all know that ain't true. You can really get confused too if you read a lot of books on the subject, and because one book contradicts another. I mean, everybody's got their own ideas about things, and there's some good ideas out there to consider. But the fact is, there's no one size fits all book. Every child's unique. You might learn a lot. You might learn a few things reading child psychology books like I've been talking about, but just don't overdo it. For the most part, you just have to make it up as you go. For lack of a better word, back of a better expression, you make it up as you go. You got to learn. We've learned. I've learned along the way, and hopefully you're going to get some sound ideas here that you can try, even in this discussion here. I'm going to try to stay very foundational on what I'm about to share, certain unalienable truths, if you will, to build on. And it's up to you to try these things, share. Decide if they work or don't work, and modify them, to fit your particular situation. That's all you can really do with anything. I mean, all knowledge is, should be considered, and, but it's really up to you. There's no one pat way to do it. I don't care what anybody says, what any religion or anybody else says. But, ideally, yeah, the two original parents the child was born to should be together and working together in harmony to raise their child. And that's usually the best because you both had input into it. You both have DNA in it. You have a big investment there, but let's be real. I mean, there's so many divorces. There's extended families, there's blended families, there's adoptions, there's single parents, there's grandparents raising children, and a million other scenarios, each with their own unique challenges. So it's not realistic to expect or condemn those families that don't have the original parents together raising their own child. We have to be supportive, and we got to come alongside their circumstances for the sake of the children, their safety, well-being, and just in general, what kind of adult they grow up to be. Is largely in our hands. One thing to me that I've learned is the key is correction, not punishment. Personally, I think you should never even use the word punishment. There should be consequences to their actions, with the goal in mind of correcting them, not just a punishment for their crime. Make sure a child understands ahead of time that this is the reward for these actions and choices. These are the consequences for these actions or consequences, and then leave it up to them to choose. That way it isn't, they can't blame you as the parent. They make the choice. Just make sure you follow up on the consequences that you told them that you would give them. And after a while, if you don't, they won't believe you. This teaches real life lessons, and in real life there are consequences and there are rewards. So get that punishment word out of your life. We need to get it out of our society. It needs to be about restoration. It needs to be about correction. Not punishing somebody, for what they did that we perceived as bad. But just give them guidelines, give them the consequence reward, and say, this is what will happen if this, and this is what will happen if that, and let them make the choice. And then you can say, well, I told you ahead of time, this is what would happen if you did this, and this is what's going to happen. Because in real life, that's the way it is. I mean, even as adults, that. I mean, we all make choices, and if we make bad choices, then we get consequences. If we make good choices, we're rewarded for it. It's like spanking. I mean, as they get older, spanking's not appropriate, but have some solid consequences in place for their actions, even when they're older. The earlier you start correcting them, the better. Don't think you can wait till they're teenagers and straighten them out. That's probably too late. Is it easier to bend a young green twig or a grown oak? When they're young, that's the time for spanking if you're going to spank them, not when they're older. And spanking should never, ever be abusive. It should never leave marks. Just spanking a small child on their little behind, it ain't gonna hurt them. It ain't gonna kill them. You ain't got to do it that hard. It ain't got to hurt. because just the excuse me, action of doing it is usually enough to make them realize they did something wrong, and tell them no. If they're real young, and then just, get them used to that word no, and and clap your hands and stuff when they're a little baby and a little toddler, and when they do something good, make sure they know that because they're reading your reaction and they're learning early on. I mean, you don't have to tell a child, to do something wrong. They know how to do something wrong. So it's important, even when they're very young to understand that. And also be a parent for them before being a friend. I mean, there's a lot of momentum in this in the 60s and 70s. All the hippies and the new age stuff, come out. Well, I'm my child's friend. I'm my daughter, my son's friend. And we're like, and we talk. I mean, it even got to the point to where kids wasn't even calling their mother and father by mom or dad. It was just calling them by their first name. That's not good. And if it comes to, and yeah, you want to be friendly to your kids. Yeah, you want to be a friend and have a good time with them and enjoy them. You want them to enjoy you. But when it comes down to it, and you have to be, whether it come down to the choice of whether you're going to be their friend or whether you got to be a parent to them and correct them or whatever, then be a parent, because that's very important, because that's what kids are really looking for. They're looking for, when it comes down to it, they don't want you being their friend. There's more security in the fact that they know that they've got a parent that is talking to them, that cares about them in some way or another. Positive reinforcement over negative reinforcement is always better. Reward them for doing well in school, having a good work ethic, being respectful, etc. I mean, it's human nature when a person does something wrong, then we really notice that. We just tear them apart, for doing something wrong, and we when things are going well, we just cruise on through and don't notice it. You got to make an intentional effort as a parent to notice the right things that they're doing and to reward them for it. It takes an effort to it. It doesn't not come natural, but reward them for positive things. Take them out to dinner. Let them buy something they want. Tell their grandparents. So they can make a big deal of it. And all these things are positive reinforcement. When they're constantly bombarded with what they do wrong and never nothing about what they do right. That has a negative effect on them. And they may not even care. And especially the younger they are, it's so important to reward them. So, and you want to trust your child. You want to trust them. And when I say child here, understand I'm not just talking about little babies or toddlers. I'll try to specify where it applies. But for the most part, when I'm saying child, I'm talking about your son or your daughter. When they're at a young age and where you still have say over them. But a lot of these things apply to teenagers, even older teenagers. But one thing too, trust them. Trust them, but oversee it. I remember Ronald Reagan had something like that. Yeah, I trust you. But we're also going to check and make sure that you're doing right. That's okay to do. I say you're kind of funny, but it's true. You have the parental prerogative of spying on your kids. I mean, just do it discreetly. Don't be overbearing about it. Don't feel like you got to control everything, but check on them. I mean, just there's nothing wrong with tapping on that closed door of their bedroom, and I always do that because I want to show respect for them. Don't never just barge in because they might be changing clothes or something embarrassing, but always knock, and then and let them have a little say over that, and then you just check on them. Look around for things that telltale signs. I mean, if there's smoke in a room or something like that, they might be smoking something. The smells, I mean, those are extreme cases, but even just look at how when you open a door, do they look nervous? Do they look panicky? Do they learn to read their body language? Trust them though to if they want to go with their friends or something, just say if it's possible, unless they're really bad influence or somebody, say yeah, sure, but be home at a certain time. Keep your phone with you so I can call you. Be sure and answer your phone. And check on them. Let them know that you're checking on them. And then that way they have an awareness, that, like that, mom or dad are like, looking out for them. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, you got to give a child boundaries. People think that by giving a child boundaries that it makes them, has the opposite effect, has a negative effect on them, but that's not the case. Boundaries give a child security. Even though they'll kick around it and they'll say, oh, you don't let me do nothing. And, and they'll be all mad about it and everything. When it comes right down to it, they're glad that they know where the lines are drawn, because sooner or later they're going to have to draw the lines for themselves. But right now, As kids, they need to understand that these are the lines. Don't cross these lines. These are the consequences. These are the rewards. This is what you can do, what you can't do, what kind of, your schoolwork is more important than going and playing with your friends or a ball team or whatever. Let them know the importance. Set boundaries, set priorities for them. Don't allow them to do it. If they want to set a certain boundary or discuss it, that's another thing. We can sit down and discuss it. I tell my kids all the time, I said, you can discuss anything with anybody as long as you approach it respectfully. So teach them that they can do that. Teach them that you are there to talk about it and consider what they're saying. But and sometimes you might just need to say, let me think about it, and then get back with them. But don't forget, be sure and get back with them, because it's really annoying, and they may just go ahead and go off on a tangent and just do it themselves anyway, because they'll say, well, you never did get back with me. But make sure you do get back with them in the amount of time. If they say, well, when, say, well, I'm going to think about it and pray about it, and I'm going to get back with you tomorrow. And be sure and get back with them tomorrow. Make it a point to do that. It's important that you are a person of your word that they can count on. Spend time doing things with your kids. Time is better than gifts. Don't just buy them off. A lot of times that's what I think parents are doing. They're buying their kids off. They're like, here's some money. Go do something. Buy yourself a video game. Because they don't want to spend time with them. You should, first place, there's something wrong if you don't want to spend time with your kids. I know we're living in a busy world and all that stuff. But man, find some stuff in common with them. Spend some time with them. Find out what they're interested in. Find out how they think. Find out what makes them click. Try to do things that are fun. They might think it's corny sometime, maybe to go to a park or something like that, but in reality, deep down, they might actually be enjoying it because they're spending time with you. Quality time is better, they say in some ways it's better than quantity time, because we might not all have the quantity time. That does not excuse us from spending a quantity of time with them either. And make your kids a priority. Especially when they're young, while you have an influence over them, it's so important that you take that time to be with them and to spend time with them. It'll go so far. Now, I've got a lot more thoughts on this, and but I'm really determined I'm gonna start making these videos. Not to be more than like 15 minutes or so long. And got the timer going here, and it says I'm getting close to being 15 minutes, and I'm gonna be right back with part 2 of this. But I want you to think about things I've said, and comment below. Email me at raven@wayoftheraven.net. Visit my website, wayoftheraven.net. And let me know what you think of these things, and I hope they're helping. And be sure and tell your friends about these videos on your social media, Facebook, and all that stuff. So anyway, this is Raven signing off for part 1, and I'll be right back with part 2. And it's up to you. You can spread it out that way and listen to part 2 at your own discretion. Thanks for your time.